And Clarkson is no fan of the game Winston Churchill described as hitting a very small ball into an even smaller hole. Asked which topic would leave him most exposed, he says without hesitation, golf. Golfers. Golf courses. The history of golf. I don't think I could name a single golfer. Cars I could probably be reasonably helpful. But then imagine the embarrassment if somebody is up for £125,000 and they ask me and I get it wrong. I'd be dying of shame. It's nothing compared to the pressure that the contestant is under because I get paid anyway. Whereas they run the risk of going home with nothing. I would hate to think that the day would come when I give someone the answer, that they decide to go with it and then it's wrong. I used to think, when Chris Tarrant used to say he doesn't know the answers or see the answers on screen before us. But do you? Whereas I now know he didn't and I won't. This is borne out by a story reported yesterday by gossip website Popbitch.it said that during one pilot show a contestant asked Clarkson who wrote feminist track The Bell Jar. Man's man Clarkson was stumped. It was Sylvia Plath. There is one subject on which Clarkson reckons he could be helpful though, 1970s prog rock music. That said, the contestants, who will have to answer 15 questions to win the jackpot, can still call on the familiar lifelines of Ask the Aunts 50/50, and phone a friend. So who would Clarkson call if he was in the hot seat? He's no longer alive sadly. It would have been the journalist and author, A. Gill. Gosh, who would be my phone a friend? Probably my brother-in-law actually. John Higton. He knows a lot about golf. He knows a lot about everything but he knows a great deal about sport. But somebody who people have heard of? Probably. Radio and TV presenter, Johnny Vaughan, James May and Richard Hammond. His sidekicks on the Grand Tour, the Amazon Prime show they present after their departure from the BBC's Top Gear, are rather lower down the pecking order. Oh, we've done pub quizzing, he says. I'd win by miles. James May would never get to £1,000, it would take him too long. He wouldn't gamble. He'd get lost on the way to the studio and he doesn't know anything. Hammond's quite clever. Weirdly, it's the opposite to what you think watching our program. James is actually the stupid one. Hammond's the clever one. In another new twist, contestants will be able to set their own second safety net amount. In the original format, once a contestant has successfully answered question 5 and won £1,000, that was the minimum they would take home. A second safety net was automatically set at £32,000. Under the new rules governing the 7 celebratory episodes that will run on consecutive nights from tomorrow, however, the second safety net will be set by the contestant ahead of the next question to be asked. So they could set it at £2,000. Or they could set it at £250,000, says Clarkson. They can choose where it goes. So they choose how much they are going to lose at any given moment. Which is a very clever idea. That requires balls of steel. To go beyond, say £32,000, when you're going to drop back to £1,000 if you get it wrong. To say, no, I'll set it at £64,000 and risk losing £63,000 if I get it wrong. Balls of steel. Predictably enough, Clarkson claims that the show he now hosts has always been his favorite. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Was fantastic because you could watch it as a family and you could argue about what the right answer was and you had time to do that, he says. So it wasn't like rapid-fire answering where you can't really take part at home because it was too quick. And then you started to invest in the person and you cared one way or the other if they won or lost. Some of them you hoped they lost. And some of them you hoped they went all the way to $1 million. It became a global sensation for very obvious reasons. It was, and is, a very, very brilliant show. He also has a soft spot for Arrival on the BBC, however. I think Pointless is a tremendously clever show and I love it, he says of the early evening quiz hosted by Alexander Armstrong and Richard Osman. I like to be home every day at 5.15 to watch it. Who wants to be a millionaire?